Oregon's COVID lottery jackpot will include nearly everyone who got a vaccine from the first days through June 27th. It's nearly everyone because right now it will not include roughly 28,000 people, many of them veterans, who got their shot through the Portland VA. Nobody's too eager to talk about that on camera. But a VA spokesman said the reason is our system is not designed to transfer information that would be needed by external agencies, including the Oregon Lottery or OHA, for the purpose of getting Oregon residents entered into the lottery. The VA had a highly regarded vaccination program and got their supplies from the federal government, so it's not reported anything to the state in terms of who got the shots through their system. The same thing is happening in other states, including Maryland. A spokesman for Oregon's governor said, "We are working with the Oregon Health Authority to develop an alternative way to collect the information for Oregonians who received a federally administered shot." He added that the governor's office is confident they will fix the problem before June 27th, but so far there's no solution that they're willing to discuss in public anyway. Elsewhere, Thursday was going to be the last day the mass vaccination center in Portland at the Oregon Convention Center would give out first doses. But now it appears they may be getting Johnson & Johnson vaccines just in case someone shows up to help a friend get their second shot and decides they will finally get vaccinated.
We are working to move some Johnson & Johnson doses to some locations that are only doing second doses, basically to take advantage of somebody who happens to be there, transporting somebody else who's getting vaccinated.
Patrick Allen, director of the Oregon Health Authority, told lawmakers about the plan Wednesday. He also showed them this graphic. The top line is hospitalizations for people who tested positive for COVID. Look to the right side and you'll see where they recently climbed, leveled off, and are now mostly falling. This chart shows cases by day, also falling now. The state's latest report for the week of May 17th through the 23rd showed a 25% drop in the number of new cases from the previous week, hospitalizations down roughly 15%, and deaths down 40% compared to the week before. One thing that's up, wasted doses of vaccine, up to a total of 9,090. Allen, the OHA director, said it may be happening because the state is urging vaccination sites not to turn anyone away.
People showing up at a vaccination site toward the end of the day being turned away because the vaccinator didn't want to open a vial and waste doses. And we have tried to communicate very clearly, waste the doses.
The state also announced today that we've gone over 200,000 known cases now of the coronavirus. Things are looking better, but we're definitely not out of the woods yet. In Northeast Portland, Pat Dooris, KGW News.